So on Trek Wars, we've been talking about the frontline forces of the Federation, and we have several different categories. Now, we've already done a video about the front line, and then we've done a video where we're talking about the reserve fleet of the Federation. Now, we have a couple different categories. We have the Galaxy, we have the Sovereign, and so before we move on to these other variants of the Federation fleet, I have, over the holiday, I have revamped our data tables, and I've redone them for the Cardassians, the Klingons, and the Romulans. And before we continue and you see that these alterations take place, I want to know, or I want to show you guys why the alterations are the way they are. All right, so I'm going to use a Galaxy-class starship in order to show you my new statistics on Federation starships, or all my ships. So let's just imagine that this ship has only 3 phaser arrays. So we know that each phaser array is a type X or type 10, and we know its output is 65,000 terawatts. Now, I'm going to refer to it as power because it's almost like a game, basically, is how we're calculating these things. So each weapon pod is worth 65,000. So now, obviously, if you take 65,000 times 3, that means your attack value is 195,000. All right, and this way of projecting a ship's overall defensive capabilities is pretty good, and you get a pretty good understanding. Now, the biggest problem is when it comes to torpedo technology, because torpedoes are a huge component when it comes to projection of long-distance power. And most ships have 1 torpedo or 2 torpedoes, and they have a variety of firing mechanisms. Most ships are firing 1, some are firing 3, some are firing 5, some of them are doing 8, and some are doing 10. So this leads to a problem which my calculations don't take in consideration. And it's created an issue with me, and I've decided to go ahead and do some corrections. Now, I'm going to state this is going to affect the data tables on Federation ships the most. It'll also affect high-end newer classes of Romulan ships. It'll also affect newer class ships of the Klingon Empire. Cardassians and the Jem'Hadar are not going to see very much change because they're not very torpedo heavy, I guess is the best way I could say it. It's not really something that they're really too concerned. Their torpedo output is usually between 1 or 3 shots at max. So we don't really get too involved, and it won't affect those races very much. But it will affect the Klingons, the Romulans, and the Federation. So, with that being said, imagine yourself, you're looking at this, we have a torpedo launcher. Now, the new calculations would have shown this torpedo launcher is being 171,000, and it's telling you that that's the kind of torpedoes coming out of the launcher, but it doesn't tell you, it doesn't evaluate how much the launcher can fire. So this launcher can obviously fire up to 10 torpedoes. So under our new evaluations of the torpedo technology in the Star Trek universe, instead of calling this 171,000, it's actually going to reflect the output of how many torpedoes it can actually launch. So it's 1,710,000. So obviously we would take this by 2 because we know this particular ship has 2 launchers. And so with that being said, then I am still keeping the standard weapon point percentile for, disruptors and phasers, and they're just representing the individual bank itself. But torpedoes, I've decided that I think it would give it a more realistic power output if I altered that. Now, the new cards and the information on them will be slightly different depending on the ship and what kind of weapons it has and things that are relevant to it. So for an example, this particular card, this newer generation card, is showing the Nebula class. It's showing you the star date was introduced. It's showing you obviously the size, the warp speed. It's showing you the crew size, and it's showing you the mass. And then it has 8 Type 10 phaser arrays, 65,000 each, 2 to 3 torpedo bursts, or 2 to 3 torpedoes with burst shot of 10. So there's several different types of nebulas, and depending on the weapon module or sensor module, will change how many weapons are on there. So this one, we're only looking at 2 torpedoes and 8 Type 10 phasers. So now it's going to go, the new attack power is 3,940,000. So the reason I decided I wanted to do this is I realized that when I'm talking about these cards and I'm talking about these ships, they don't look as imposing as what they should be when you're looking at the power outputs, when it's only looking at a torpedo that can do so much destructive power and you're only getting a representation of the 1 module when really it's 10. So I thought this would be a better way to look at ships. And so all our ships are going to have this correction. So all Cardassians, Dominion, everything is going to be redone. Now, I've also went through and recalculated the shields and hulls, and I got things more accurate. So the cards that I'm going to be using from this point on are not going to change. I finally got everything down pat. It should be pretty much perfect. I'm going one race at a time. It's going to take me weeks to do each one. I just did the Federation over the holiday. I've just did the Cardassians. I had to tweak it a little bit, and I'll kind of show you what that's going to look like too. Star Trek, Starship Tactical Combat Simulator, VASA, Birth of the Federation, and some other games are where some of our data tables are coming from. Most of them are coming from the VASA stuff. So keep it really quick, really simple. This is kind of like what it's going to look like. I'm going to tell you about the ship, the crew, the mass, and then we'll give you the attack value, the shields, the hull, the defense. Now, about 90% of these ships are going to be based off the VASA. I did some calibrations based off VASA stats and converted them into our stats that I already have. And so for an example, we're going to look at the Spirewave Disruptor, which is seen on the Galore. It's called a CD13. So a CD13 has a power level on the game is 8, and whatever power level it is what it is. When we convert it, the power level is 7,500. So every CD13 weapon is using the same conversion formula that we use for the CD13 on their version. And so I did that with every single Cardassian weapon. It took forever. And then the CSDs stand for Cardassian Spirewave Disruptor Technology, which is the heavy Spirewave Disruptor cannons, which is the 65,000. Now, when you're looking at these ones, though, what it's going to show you, it's going to be slightly off. It's a little confusing, but CD13 times 8 means it has, CD13 is the name of the weapon. It has 8, and then it'll say power means the output of each weapon. So it's 7,500. So it has 8 weapons. Those weapons are outputting 7,500 points of damage. They can fire 13 times. They have a full volley of 97,500. So the reason why I'm putting these stats on the cards is Cardassians have a lot of weapons, a lot of different weapons on different ships. It makes it kind of confusing. And I want you guys to be able to see that the Cardassian ships are not as toothless as we think they are. And it'll give us a better understanding of Cardassian fleet doctrines and why they look the way they do. All right, guys, so here's a taste of some of the different fleets. So it's kind of the same thing that I did with the Federation. You know, they're broken down in certain fleet dynamics. Now, one of the things that I did that's differently than the Federation, we pretty much know what Federation starships are what. Cardassian ships, very few people, unless you're a hardcore Star Trek fan, have any idea what other Cardassian ships are out there. So I went ahead with the Cardassian fleets. When you see them, you're going to see these little tiny names, and those names are going to tell you what those ships are. All right, so there you go. So this will basically be what it'll kind of look like to you guys when we break them down. So for an example, this is a troop transport. It's a heavy cruiser that the Cardassian use, the Janissary class. Now, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. You have to wait till its time comes. But basically, the same thing we're doing with the Federation, with the fleet doctrine, we're going to do the exact same thing with all the other races. Obviously, we're going to finish the Federation. We'll move to the Cardassians next. and then I don't know, maybe we'll vote on what we're going to do next. But this is what I'm going to do this year. I'm going to obviously finish up my Federation, and then I'm going to do some videos about some of the Federation ships that I haven't done yet. So if I remember right, we haven't done the Sovereign. I don't know if I've done the Galaxy. We'll look and see what Federation starships haven't been done yet. We'll finish the Federation, and then we'll start. We'll do ships, and then we'll do fleet dynamics of the Federation during the Dominion War. And then one more thing, guys. All these ships, they're all updated, and they're all reviewing stats that are Dominion. Okay, so it's all Dominion War. I won't really talk about too much about what they had before the Dominion War. I'll just maybe say they were old when they came in, why they were changed, and that kind of stuff. Because I really think that the Dominion War stuff is more entertaining, and so I'm going to go with that and keep with the modern Dominion War stuff. And then if you guys like that, after all that's done, maybe we'll go back and talk about the ships when they're first introduced, and every ship will get a full video, but that won't be till later in the year. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and then I'll see you all in the future. Thank you for watching Trek Wars. If you like this material, please subscribe and make a comment. And with that being said, victory is life.